Good evening, good night, good morning, good wherever you're at, time-wise, world friends. I hope everyone is well. I really do mean that. What a change of events has. This is crazy. I mean, you want to talk about just a ruthless market? Yes. I mean, yesterday and today. Yesterday, Rome's on fire. Everyone's freaking out. I'm getting more negative comments by the night. And then today, everybody's like, "Oh, okay, things are looking up." This is just the way of the market right now. This is we're going through extreme highs and extreme lows, and you've got to catch on quick with what's going on right now. So, obviously, yesterday in the market, all the drama from the past 2 weeks now had just collided yesterday. Okay, drama filled city. The market sold off like crazy. Okay, then today the market started to obviously pep back up. This is why I was saying yesterday, this is the moment that this is it. Start buying in, and I was trying to buy everything I could yesterday, just even things that I hadn't bought in a long time. I was like, I'm just going to add more right here, because I knew this was probably what we've done many times this year already, where we have these dramatic sell-offs, overreaction, and not even overcorrection. Overcorrection and overreaction are two different things right now. We've seen a lot of overreaction, and that's what we saw yesterday. I mean, the market just dramatically dump loaded. I mean, just, it was just crazy. So with that, today, the market, a lot of things shot back up here. I mean, BigBear shooting back up in $7 range. Richtech, it obviously trying to get back up into this high $5 range. More than likely we'll be at $6 here pretty soon. We'll talk about that. So friends, next week is the big week. This is when Trump and Chinese president here meet up, and we figure out what is going to happen here. We've been doing this has been an ongoing conversation all year. How many times has the market sunk off this news? And then it ends up being nothing, pushback, it's going good, then it's bad, it's good, blah, 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 blah. So let's see if we can get these two to become BFFs. That would be great. And it's back and forth. And then of course next we're going to talk about the Russia-Ukraine thing, and then we'll see where that goes. Blah, blah, blah. Man, being an investor this year is wild. It is wild. So obviously I want to mention Beyond Meat, because I've had 800 comments the past week about there's certain stocks right now that are just heavily manipulated, and there's nothing wrong with that. I love a heavy manipulated meme stock. I've done very well off them. I don't think there's anything wrong with them. I am all for this kind of stuff. I am not of the generation where I go like, these dang meme stocks. If you play them right, you're going to do well. So Beyond Meat here, listen, the only thing I'm going to tell anybody that is playing around with this right now is that be careful. This thing has went from under $1 to this, essentially just a moment ago here, almost $4 stock. So right now, is there more room in this? If this is still going to run, here's how I look at this. I look at this right now that this is a very early stage where Beyond Meat could run more, if it's going to run more. Right now, for me, there's not enough pattern to tell what more we can do. Now, obviously, like I said, I am very much in the state that this can go more. I mean, obviously, just yesterday, this was almost, I said $4, excuse me, but it almost ran to $10. It was $4 here today. But, yesterday, this thing ran to, it was looking for 10, and then it just fell short here. And yeah, obviously, yesterday was a rough day for a lot of things here. But what we're seeing right now is that, it's a conversation of, it depends who has already had a season in meme stocks. That's the thing. Meme stocks for a while there were meant that, it was wham, bam, squeeze, push, boom, done. We've seen meme stocks really turn into something more here, where, the retail investors, they keep them alive more. They keep them, the pulse stays going longer than what Wall Street will even admit or wants to admit. Because, just as much as retail investors are pushing into Beyond Meat right now, you have to understand that Wall Street is betting against it heavily right now. So there's this huge push back and forth right now. So, I'm in the camp where I go, well, of course, this could definitely go to $15, $20 if it's going to remain in this spotlight of being pushed by, investors. But it really depends who in the army is going to stay with it. So, yeah, I am not telling you to buy, sell, whatever. I'm just saying I'm on the sidelines cheering. I've got battles elsewhere right now, and I was in the whole AMC GameStop thing for a moment. I had my fun with it, and I've caught some other little meme things that took place since then, but right now I've got money allocated elsewhere that I feel comfortable about. So I am here a cheerleader. I'm watching this. I'm rooting for people right now. The volume obviously has been crazy the past 48 hours, and I will say this: playing around with meme stocks in the past, if this thing continues this gradual climb into this time next week, that will be a pure big bite of a breadcrumb right there, that this thing is trying to get back into into another push. But I would just be careful. I would just be careful. Be real careful. I mean, this thing has gone from almost $10 to under $3 at this point. So could this last? Obviously, this could last. When the GameStop, AMC, and Bed Bath & Beyond, there was a lot of them wrapped up in that. And I say that because that was like the first initial meme stock push in the market. And we really haven't had it that intense since then. We've had little moments like what we're seeing right now, that this is getting a little aggressive. Krispy Kreme, obviously, Bed Bath & Beyond, Beyond Meat here. Those, when they happened, they lasted a very long time. There were different moments of them, but I think everyone knows what Beyond Meat is. This is not a new company. This is not a new stock on the stock market. This has been a very well-known stock on the market for a long time. And that's all I'll say about that. And obviously, I think everyone, their brother, knows about Krispy Kreme. But like I said, I'm curious to see what this stock survival rate of the push continues. What will the pulse be next week? Can by Monday, Tuesday, this start to push back up into just a slow push into a $4 to $5 range again, and then somewhere middle week of next week, and next week's going to be a hot week in the market, where I think that's pretty obvious. And I think a lot of people probably in agreement with that. Can this thing swing back up into this, kind of, safe zone of where it found itself back up into where investors are comfortable buying it back up into a $7, $8 range, because it's already touched that, 6, 7 mark here, trying to get higher than that. People are probably going to be very comfortable buying it at that range if it continues to move up slowly into that. And that's where that new, where that new ground level will be set for it to, potentially push off again. So like I said, I am watching it as a cheerleader. I'm rooting for people to make tons of money off this. I love when people make money off the market. It's such a great thing. I'm for people winning in the market, whether you're betting for or against something. I'm rooting for everyone. Obviously, we may be rooting against different things here, but at the end, I like to see everyone do well. So let me know what's going on with friends. There, I spoke my piece about it. Maybe I'll talk about it again. Maybe I won't. I don't know, but there it is. Big Bear, look at this freaking swing. So yesterday, Big Bear wasn't safe from the market. This thing sold down to the 630, 640 range. Today, pushed right back up into a $7 range. Huge push. Huge push. So, just amazing. If people were buying yesterday, it's wild, because, and now obviously when I say $7 range, after hours here, the market is showing a really nice push here. And even Richtech, but I'll get to Richtech here. But Big Bear, closed out around 6, high 70, and then after hours here, it really started to push up, really intense here. Along with the market, it generally started to really do well, after hours here. So with that, there's not a lot of new news. What we've been saying here about Big Bear, we're still saying. You know, Big Bear's got quarterlies coming up here, and I do apologize. I had the wrong date of quarterlies on here. Everyone was like, "Hey, dummy, you've got the wrong." I am so sorry. I really do apologize. But it is November 10th, which is even better, thank God, because it gives more time for Big Bear to maybe catch up some lost ground here. If people are trying to swing trade this, or get, you know, or you're like, I just want to like sell half my bag here so I can take some profit, and we'll see what happens after quarterlies. But you know, the main thing that I've said is what I'll continue to say. So I don't want to stick on Big Bear too much here, because there's not a lot of new news here. Besides, Big Bear's still very much alive. I mean, every time we see these huge dumps in the market, Big Bear will follow suit too. But Big Bear really held its ground on this dump that we saw yesterday with the market, and then today really pushed back up here even after hours. I mean, this was a very, you know, this was a win. This was a win today, obviously. With that, Big Bear has essentially 2.5 weeks here until the next quarterly. I'm hopeful. I am hopeful that they will maybe pass this quarterly. I just don't know. And that is, I will not publicly say that they're going to pass this quarterly, because I don't know. I really don't. They have captured a lot of deals this year. They have done very well, even since after Q2 there, where we had a very bad quarterly. Really bad quarterly. I'm hopeful that Q3 can at least be somewhere up in the high range of $30 million. If it was somewhere in 40 million, that would be fantastic. That's what we're looking for. But you know, anything. I think the main positive, the main win here for Big Bear right now is that it at least shows that things are getting better. So as long as they beat Q2, which I would probably say that's going to be very likely, because Q2 was so bad, and they have achieved deals right before and after that quarterly, that we should see more compounding on top of whatever we're about to, you know, what's about to be released here. So I'm hopeful. But yeah, if Big Bear can run into next week with the market, and obviously, you know, with the market potentially running hot, maybe starting tomorrow, because tomorrow morning, you know, whenever you're watching this at 8 a.m. before market opens, the Feds will be talking, and we will be seeing what the CPI report is, the inflation report. If it's good, which is probably not going to be good, that'll be great. If it's going to be middle ground, that will probably still be okay. The market will allow that, and we'll get away with that. If it's really bad, I don't know if the market's even going to care, because we've already went through some junk. That might be like not even the bad news of what we've already gone through. You know, it seems to be when a billionaire or somebody really looked at in the investor community says something negative about the stock markets, the market seems to take more heat from that than anything, aka Trump, Sam Altman, or Jerome Powell. I don't know. We'll see how this report affects the market. I don't know that the market's even going to care. It would have to be terrible, like terrible, because the market knows next week, more than likely, the Feds are going to come out and they're going to do a rate cut. Okay. That's more than likely what we're looking at. So the market, we could have a good day tomorrow. I say that lightly right now. If you're watching this at 9, 10 o'clock tomorrow afternoon, I'm sorry if I'm wrong, but I'm hopeful that we will get the market back by tomorrow, and then next week get this thing up and rolling, because obviously, too, you know, next week is the week of heavy quarterlies. I mean, this week we had quarterlies with a lot of companies, but next week, that's when things are really getting rolling here. So that's why I'm hopeful Big Bear can have a great chance of getting back up and rolling here. And maybe, you know, and this is the same, you know, essentially same week that we're going to see more AI stocks releasing their quarterlies, and, you know, Palantir, all that. And if the market can really push up here back into this S&P, get rolling here again, low cap stocks get rolling here again, small cap stocks here, you know, I think 100% Big Bear can definitely push into this $8, $9, $10 range here. It's already touched those before. It's tasted those numbers. I definitely think that is very possible. Once again, at best, that's very possible. Again, after quarterly, if Big Bear's going to remain somewhere around this 8, 9, even $7 range, it's going to have to execute these quarterlies. There's no doubt about it. I know deals are very important, but one of two things have to happen for the survival of Big Bear to remain even at a $6 to $7 range right now. They have to come out with a very aggressive quarterly. That's number one. Or number two, they have to receive within the next 3 weeks or right after this quarterly a very, very aggressive deal, the biggest they've ever seen. I'm talking like Palantir deal. I'm talking like, anywhere from 300, 500 million dollars. Okay, $1 billion, that would be life changing. But they're going to have to come out with a very aggressive number here to say like, hey, okay, the next quarterlies for the rest of this year and going in 2026 are going to be the best we've ever had because hey, we just got this mammoth deal. Very possible. We've seen companies do this, many times, especially AI companies, drone companies. I mean, this stuff happens. It's not like it's unheard of. And then this is where I'm really excited. Now, listen, I love Big Bear, all that kind of stuff, but where I'm really excited right now, where I'm putting the goose up right now for everyone to see right now. I am really looking at Richtech for next week push. Now, I wish I had a time machine. I wish I could Rick and Morty this thing and tell you, hey, we are going to have next week. Oh, yeah. But obviously, a lot what I said about Big Bear kind of, really, floats over into Richtech here. Obviously, next week, I think this could be, we'll see. Obviously, it may take the whole week to finally get there until the Feds say something, but have a good week next week in the market. Okay, obviously that's one. We have to get there. Two, Richtech will be at this big old conference thing they're going to do, NVIDIA, all that kind of stuff. So potentially some news, something said, anything just positive, just more positivity out there for Richtech. That's great. Promotion, good promotional articles. Okay. With that, Richtech here, this could be the next big cup and handle push here, obviously. So we've already had Richtech try its best. I mean, we've been just a nickel and a quarter short here of getting to $8 with Richtech. Okay, we've almost been there, and that was around 2.5 weeks ago at this point. Our last big initial push. All right, really not even that. Now we have sold off. Richtech has proven itself here. And why I say it's proven itself, yesterday with everything selling off, and when we have days like what we just had, those days are as much as people may hate them, they're very healthy and they're very good because it tells you and it allows you to do something. It tells you what is the bottom. What is the bottom of the grave right now for some of these stocks? Richtech, we saw it hold a really good high $4 range yesterday. Okay, great. It easily pushed back up into $5 range. Okay, so if this is what we're dealing with at the worst, for a high $4 range, was the high 5 weeks ago. Okay, I know I keep saying that, but still, this is showing us something here. Now, right underneath this cup here, we're seeing more support where Richtech is saying, hey, I want to keep this low mid $5 range here. This is what we're seeing right now. So with that, Richtech, even after hours, once again here, just like Big Bear, sold off at market close, but then started to trail up again here to a middle 550 range here. Now today, Richtech right around 3 o'clock hit that 550 range, then sold off a little bit, but still trying to build itself back up here. It wants to get to the $6 range, no doubt about it. It's comfortable at this middle $6 range. This is pretty obvious at this point. If we can close out tomorrow, Richtech, anywhere around $6, this is going to be a great setup, like a swing and hit for next week. Obviously, I'm very convinced that Richtech is going to continue to be a very popular stock. I just am. I think probably a lot of people may be in agreement with that. Now for the bears, here's the conversation for the bears. Obviously, I've said a lot of positive stuff, and there's some people, they just don't want to hear positive. They want to hear some negative stuff too. I totally get that. The negatives right now, obviously, Richtech. Yes, robotics in general are still kind of not favored in the market, but I do think that's changing. I think that's going to change before people know it. Second is that, yes, Richtech needs more deals. They need more, avenues out with their product. This is still a very new company. It's a very new concept. They've been around for a minute here, but still, robotics in the industry of, helping, essentially restaurants, gas stations, hotels where they're putting their robots. This is still a very new concept. Okay. I think my worst fear right now for the robotics industry, which I don't think this is really going to happen with robotics, but I think elements of it will happen. So if you went through, I don't know who was in the market around 2016. So here's a little bit of a history lesson, what happened back when Trump first came into the market. Okay. If you were in the market at that time, you probably saw that EV companies were blowing up. Tesla right then was just getting very popular. People were, green initiative, even then, green energy, all that kind of stuff in EV market was really blowing up. Okay. I mean, it was taking off. In Trump coming in to office at the first time, he was pushing EVs. He was, he was going to plants, showing off them and stuff like that. But getting these, even then there were EV companies that aren't even around anymore. They just didn't work. But they were made in America EVs. So this stuff was really taking off, and it seemed like everyone with $10 billion at that moment was starting an EV company. I mean, there was EV companies coming out of China, there was EV companies coming out of America. I mean, there was all these new car companies. I mean, and a lot of them, they're not even around, and the ones that are around, they're struggling. I mean, this conversation goes from Lucid to, all the major car, companies. I mean, they all started making EVs. I mean, it was just like EV. Everybody had EVs, and it showed you at that moment that, like, okay, there's a huge craze in the market right now for EV companies. A lot of these stocks were getting pushed to insane numbers. I remember I was making insane swing trades even then, because a lot of these EV companies that were first coming to market, with IPOs, they were running like insane numbers, and the companies haven't even turned a profit yet. And I mean, some of these stocks went to like, I think some of them was like $50 to $100, and you could buy into them for like $20 at first. So I mean, I had me and some buddies were making stupid money, but this is what was going on. So I'm sure you're going like, why are you saying any of this? Why is any of this important? I'm saying all this because there's trends in the market. There's trends in the market every president for sure, but there's always trends in the market. Right now, obviously, we're in AI. AI is a hot commodity in the market. At that moment with EVs, what we saw too is that a lot of them ate each other up. At the end of the day, most of them didn't work. They ran out of money, and even the ones that have survived up until this moment, even things like Rivian, are starting to, even ones that haven't showed trouble are starting to show trouble. Okay, and there's still this fight for who's going to win. At the end of the day, Tesla's still reigning champion. I mean, that's just, we went through all that stuff, and the outcome was Tesla, obviously sales are down, but, they more than likely, they took the market early. Okay, I say all that to say, what if robotics starts up next year? What if this happens? What if we get in 2026 here and robotics are taking off? What if we see companies out of nowhere say, hey, we've got $10-20 billion. We're going to collab with this company, and we're going to bring them to public trading, and this is blank robotics company. I think there's potentially something like that will happen. There will be a robot moment in the market. It could be here in 2026. So I look at Richtech and I go, Richtech is very ahead of the game right now. And there's all kinds of different robotic companies. Like Richtech isn't the only robotics public traded company right now. You know, this is when I talked about Optimus. I talked about other humanoid robot companies right now. Even iRobot, for God's sakes, making vacuums, but and then some other ones that are just simply just software robotic companies that just simply just like trying to make cars be just drive by themselves essentially. But once again, Tesla is already heading into that. Richtech here, why I think a lot of us are obsessed with Richtech here is because they've pushed into this sector that obviously can do a lot of damage to society, and it will, no doubt about it. And this is where people may have an issue investing into Richtech, but more than likely, if Richtech's not doing it, someone else is going to do it. Where Richtech is pushing into this service industry, okay, and this is what they're going after, and this is why they're talking to NVIDIA. NVIDIA's talking to them about the chips, everything. Their robots will get faster. They will get smarter. And I read that article that the CEO of Richtech, he had an interview, and he talked about that Richtech's been working on their software for a while now. I mean, like years, trying to get their robots to have this immediate reaction to when someone hands them something or their movement or things like that. So, their robots are getting smarter, and obviously they're headquartered in Vegas. I mean, you want to talk about prime place to be to run a robotics company. I mean, there's all kinds of avenues you can be there. So, I do think that even before we see Richtech, maybe if they don't get some kind of insane deal, growth, revenue wise, I think there's a feeding frenzy that could happen with Richtech. I think there's a conversation of where Richtech could just get into a feeding frenzy where robotic stocks start to get very popular, people start to go after them, and you see what's kind of happening to a lot of AI stocks right now, maybe even ones that aren't even making quarterlies or just coming short or very close, that are unbelievable share prices. We may see something like that happen in Richtech. I know I've spoken of this, but I really do. I think this is probably something we're looking at here. I don't know when the robotic craze is going to start, but I do know that it's not stopping. Robots are going to have their moment in the market, 100%. And it's going to, and once it trickles into general society, TikTok, TV, YouTube, just industries in general, people can buy them, stuff like that. It's a lot of things are going to start to really change here. So, short term, I'm really excited about what could possibly happen here with Richtech. I'm hopeful, friends, that we could see the next push in Richtech here be around this $8, $9, $10 range. I think it's possible. But long term, I think it's obviously going to be just a matter of time. It's going to be a battle. See what happens with it here. But yeah, that's really where I'm at. I'm going to stop repeating myself. I'm going to shut up. I wish everyone the best of luck. We'll see what the Feds say in the morning. I'm hopeful that something good will happen here. We've been through it here the past 2 weeks, so let's. I'm ready to see green. I think a lot of us we've bought. We're out of money. Let's get some green in here and see if we can get these markets back. Friends, take care of yourself. I'll talk to you soon. Bye, everyone.